Let's talk about the YouTube algorithm and the 3 big components that you need to know in order to do well on the platform. We've got a great panel today. I'm so excited that these guests were able to make it on the show live to talk with me and to talk with you about this super important topic. My goal is to blow your mind today, and I think that you're going to learn some brand new things. I can't wait to get started. You're watching Stream Like You Mean It. Owen Video! Hey, welcome back to Stream Like You Mean It with me, Owen Video, helping you, the entrepreneur and video creator, make more effective, more engaging live stream shows. We're live every Monday at noon PST. That's 3 p.m. EST. If you're on the East Coast, you can give me an air 5 below. That's how we say hello. And we're broadcasting today on multiple channels with Restream, the best live streaming software that you will ever need. And we want to welcome all of you watching us today on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Periscope, and more. My question for you today is, I just clicked it off. What results do you want to get from your video efforts? I think there's a lot of things you could be shooting for here. I think you'd be shooting for views, virality. I think you could be shooting for AdSense. I think you could be shooting for lead generation and product sales and affiliate marketing sales. There's lots of different things you could be shooting for. What are you shooting for when you make videos? What's that big thing in the back of your mind that's this is the thing I want to get from my general video strategy? Let me hear from you in the chat area below, and we're going to put some of those chats on the screen with us today as we dig into our content. And we can do that with a brand new on-screen chat feature brought to you by Restream, the software that we're using right now. And I want all of you to go grab your free trial of Restream today. It is the best live streaming tool you're ever going to need, and here's why. With Restream.io, you can broadcast your message on multiple social media platforms at the same time. And with the new Restream Studio, you can go live with custom branded graphics, a chat room that pulls all your conversations into one place, and many more features. So get started today on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and more. Just visit owenvideo.com/Restream to get your free trial today. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Restream is giving away $10 in credits when you start a free trial or when you upgrade to the service. And that $10 you can use to try advanced features and some different things that really make the platform something very, very special. So if you haven't tried Restream, or if you're using another software, I want to encourage you, go see the Restream difference. I was using another software for a really long time, and I was happy. I was content. But when I saw Restream, I thought, wow, this is really next level for a Mac, for a PC, even inviting mobile users in and just doing a lot on screen. Restream is a phenomenal software, and I hope that you decide to go ahead and get it. We want to welcome those of you watching us live today on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and more. I want to welcome you to the show. Harley is saying, we want to welcome Harley. I want to welcome Pam, Jess Sampson. And we've also got Lead with Jim Penrod, Automotive, my man, and member of the Video Marketing School, Randy Hickman. Good to see you out there today. And I want to welcome Jay Hauslander. Now, can we put Jay Hauslander, can I just mention Jay real fast, guys? I want to welcome all of you watching here, and I want to just kind of give you a short testimony about Jay Hauslander. Jay Hauslander is in the Video Marketing School, which is my private sort of coaching program. And in that program, we teach how to get sponsors for your live stream show. And Jay just landed his very first sponsor, paid sponsor, 4-figure sponsor, by the way. And Jay has exactly 7 subscribers on his YouTube channel or something. I don't mean 7. He's brand new at this, but he has an excellent model, and he learned our system, and he got his very first sponsor. So Jay, 2 air 5s, to you, my man. And it's so good to see you out there. Krister Bovin logging in from across the pond. The savvy turtle is saying, tap the shell, Jay. I love that you guys have like your own sayings and you're like these things that you do. It's so good to see you guys out there today. Launchpad Astronomy. Also, my man, Larry Kozin logging in. Mr. Church Marketer, Rock Davis, Teacher Paul's hard-boiled English. Guillermo Perez is saying, not on Instagram yet, my friend. Not on Instagram yet. You're almost there. Pam, Zero Cool Latte. It's so good to see you guys there today. We have a epic show today. A epic or an epic? We have an epic show for you today. And I want to just jump right in on the topic. But if you haven't answered our question of the day yet, I'd like to know, what is the main goal that you're trying to get from your video? Some of you guys said that you wanted to get, is Daniel Batal here? Daniel Batal is here. Man, that is a good show. We're having a great show today. You know, is it to get leads? Is it to get views? Is it to go viral? Right? What is the goal? Daniel Batal is one of those guys that is just like authentically funny. Like I always try to be funny back. I try to be funny back, but he's funnier than I am. It's just like at the end of the day, he's funny. I'd love to hear your guys. I'd love to hear some of your comments, and they're coming up. Let's all learn together. We have a great show today. We're talking about the YouTube algorithm and really the three big components of the YouTube algorithm that you need to know. I was lucky enough to get three epic guests to come on and share their insights, all of whom we have so much to learn from. Our first guest has 149,000 subscribers on one of his YouTube channels. I have known this gentleman for a long time. We're very close personal friends, and he's really a master at the YouTube algorithm and understanding the needs of your viewing audience. I want to welcome Brian G. Johnson to the panel today. We've also got another close personal friend of mine who manages one of the biggest channels in YouTube education. But that's not all, right? Because I think sometimes you could do work, you know, for someone else, and some people might downplay that, or maybe they might upplay that. Our guest today has built her own channel to 35,000 subscribers and builds other channels. She's Trina Little, and if you don't know her content, you need to follow her content. Excellent stuff on Instagram. And our final component today is the one, the only, Rob Balasabas. Rob has a YouTube channel. Rob streams live on LinkedIn. Rob is an ambassador for Tubebuddy and the Ben organization. He really is a well-connected guy, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say today. Welcome, everyone, to the show. Glad to have you guys here today.
Thanks,
Great
Owen.
to be here.
Yeah,
Very
thank
excited.
you.
Well, I want to just jump right in, and I want to kind of give sort of like a highlight, because we're sort of the Avengers here today. We're kind of like Justice League here today. Everyone is kind of on the show to represent a different, kind of like superpower. And although we have multiple superpowers, Brian, you're really excellent at the YouTube algorithm. And so I want to dive in with you. You know, what is the major component of the YouTube algorithm that every creator has to be putting as a top priority?
It's simple. It really is simple. All the things that anybody wants who would be using YouTube, whether you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're a YouTuber, it's kind of the same. And that is to get people to click your videos, keep them watching longer, and further engagement. And the better you do at those things, the more likely you'll get more views. And it's really that simple. The thing to think about is, as you step forward, as you look at, I'm going to start publishing these videos, the thing to think about is that you might do really great in one specific area. Like you might get a lot of clicks to your video. In geek speak, we call that CTR.
Right.
And you might think, wow, that's good enough. Why am I not getting views? Well, because there are many metrics that YouTube looks at. But again, kind of the 3 or 4 that I mentioned: get clicks, keep people watching, and then get further engagement. So get subscribers, maybe get another view to your channel. So what happens when a viewer comes in, they click on your video, What do they do next? Do they go to another one of your videos? Do they binge watch your content? Do they leave? Do they never come back? The more they engage on your channel, the better. The biggest signal for engagement really is watch time.
Yeah.
So that's the thing to think about.
So what is watch time and how do we improve it?
Watch time is literally how long people are watching your video. There's all kinds of metrics to measure it, but at the end of the day, the thing to focus on is if you've got a 5-minute video, the longer people watch that 5-minute video, the better. If they watch for 2 minutes, it's okay. 3 minutes, pretty good. 4 minutes, you're a rock star, and 5 minutes, you're immortal. So,
yes, and that you mean 100% of the video.
Yeah, exactly.
How much of a reality is that somebody would watch 100% or even 90% to 100% of our video? How realistic is that?
When you get good, you can actually get a very high percentage of people to the end of your video, and obviously it depends on how long your video is. For example, one of my most popular videos is how to get more views on YouTube. And I talk about the power of getting people to the very end of your video and then getting a click to an end screen. This is incredibly powerful because it tells the algorithm that someone clicked and then they watched all the way to the end.
Yeah.
And not only did they make it to the end, but they signed up to watch another one of your videos. So when you do that, that's kind of one of the metrics I mentioned about further engagement. An end screen click is not only another view on your channel, but it's also a signal that is going to allow the algorithm to really understand that that particular viewer loves your content. Now, the video I'm thinking about, I think it has somewhere around 500,000 views, and the end screen click-through rate is 21%.
Wow.
21% out of 500,000 viewers. And it's anytime I do really well with that metric, I do better. So the thing to think about, the thing that I like to focus on is, number one, I want to win clicks. Number two, I want to keep the viewers watching as long as possible. And then the thing I really like to focus on is gaining subscribers, because that is, again, that's a really strong signal to YouTube that not only did they click and watch, but they liked your video enough to sign up and subscribe. It's like confirmation. You know, when you watch a video, you might kind of watch for a while, but how does the algorithm really know that you love the video? What if you click a video and then the doorbell rings, you get up and you leave and the video's playing? Well, that could be 100% completion, but it doesn't really send the signal to YouTube that you loved it. Yeah. So that's why I always try to follow up with a subscribe or an end screen element click. These are the things that I focus on. And Owen, can I just add one more?
Absolutely. Double Dutch.
A little tip that I think might help some of the folks in the audience.
Yes.
Please don't obsess about the algorithm.
Okay.
Because it's not as complicated as we make it out to be.
Yeah. Talk about it.
It ain't that thing.
Expand.
Literally, if you want to get subscribers, great. That's the thing you want to do. If you want to get more clicks, that'll help too. The thing to focus on is not the results you want, which is more views, more email opt-ins, more sales. It's how to make it happen. And I see this again and again by the same creators. They're so hung up on the result that they don't have any space to focus on how to make it happen. So how do we actually move forward and keep people watching our video? Well, practice your delivery on camera.
Yeah.
Practice not saying and ah. Practice your editing, your scripting. Owen, you spent 3 minutes before this live stream started, and you're like, I need to get the hook down right now. Bam! That's what I'm talking about. That is focusing on the skills and abilities that we want to obtain.
Yeah.
To rock the mic.
That's so good, man. I love the dramatic pause too, you know, like, because you really do master these things in your videos. And I've watched you dial it in and really bring it in. For those of you guys watching, I want to welcome you to the show. There's 94 people watching this show across all different platforms. We want to say thank you. And also, let's get that to 100. It would be our largest show ever. Go ahead and tag someone or maybe share this on your YouTube or Facebook newsfeed and help us get the word out. We're glad that you're here. Brian, I want to come back to some of that because you mentioned some really good stuff, but what a great transition into Trina, because Trina is really, in my mind, an expert at so many things. But what stands out and what I've actually hired her for in the past is, workflow, right? Like Brian mentioned, winning clicks and getting subs. But then on top of that, it's like raising kids, building your business. It's going to work. It's going to school. It's doing chores. It's all these different things. How do we manage all of that in sort of a weekly schedule? Trina, what's your background and experience in that area?
Yeah, so I started my business about 5 years ago. I think this is my 5-year anniversary this month. And I had just had a 10-month-old. And I thought I was going to be a YouTuber. But the more I dug into YouTube and with my MBA in business, I realized the power that video really had for business owners. And I realized it was much bigger than being a YouTuber. And so that's when I immediately started learning everything about YouTube and becoming that outsource for people. So I was the one managing things for people. I was the one figuring out how could they get more content up? How could they effectively use their content? Till it came to the point where that became me. And so I had to set up my own systems and processes. And along the way, I had another child in this past year, virtual kindergarten and all of that stuff. I had to get really effective with my time. Yeah. And for me, it's not just about getting videos on YouTube. It's about getting my content out to the right people. My business model is based on leads. It's based on my agency, getting clients into my agency, getting students into my programs. And so I need to make sure I'm getting my content out to as many people as possible. So I tried to figure a way to really utilize one core piece of content every single week, which became my YouTube content. Yeah. That is the biggest piece of content you can have. That's 2 major search engines for you right there, YouTube and Google. And then how can I effectively repurpose this in more places? Because not everybody's on YouTube, and that's fine. And we all know it's really hard to push people to a platform that they're not normally on anyways. Right. And that's fine. I don't need them to be on YouTube to watch my content or to buy my products or to hire me. I just need them to know what stuff that I do and know my content. And so I started figuring out when I could show up, when I could batch, how could I get the most out of that day? When I have one quiet day a week without the kids at home, how could I maximize that? Yeah. So I started, go ahead.
No, that's right. I kind of wanted to jump into that because repurposing's huge. Building the business is huge. What would you say is the biggest non-video production skill that every creator or entrepreneur should get good at?
I would say if you know exactly how you want things done and you can set that up in a project management tool like Asana, ClickUp, Trello, then it's much easier to bring somebody on board to get things done the way you want to get things done. Yeah. I know you were very particular in your processes. And so we tried to figure out what is the best way that we can put this down on paper, so to speak. So it's going to be easy for you to hand it off to somebody and you get the results that you expect. Even if it was you doing it, how can we break that down for somebody to then think like you in the workflow that you set up?
Wow. Fantastic. I think that's something that we don't think about a lot as creators. It's awesome. It's often about like the video and the views and sort of that element of it. But there are these sort of outside skills that we need too. I want to ask you kind of a silly question. By the way, I want to just big shout out to Trucking Tips, Daniel Sullivan, Daniel Batal, you do it. We're actually having conversations in Dutch happening in the comment area right now. And so that is super fun. They're actually coming in so fast, they're hard to monitor. But this morning on Facebook, I posted algorithm versus humanism. And I laughed for 10 minutes and then wondered if anybody would. For those of you, by the way, guys, that with questions, ask your questions. We're going to get to them in just a second. So Trina, I'm asking you, should we be making videos for the algorithm or for the humanism?
I do think you need to find a good balance, but it all comes down to who's clicking on your video and watching it, not the algorithm. We have to make sure we're creating thumbnails and titles that people actually want to watch. You could have a perfectly optimized video for the algorithm purpose, but if it's not enticing for somebody or doesn't pique somebody's interest, they're not going to click on it. So you really need to keep that in mind.
Really, I want to come back to that because I have these sort of issues with things people want and search optimization. Jump in because I can tell you're passionate about this. Talk to us. What's on your mind about that?
Yeah, I mean, we know a lot of people are using search, and I don't know if you've dug into the data. You probably have, but I can tell the audience retention on my search videos tend to be about half than what I get in suggested.
Right.
And so I tend to, again, want to make sure that title and the thumbnails are maybe a little bit more optimized for the suggested side, because I know that's a more valuable viewer to me than worrying about showing up in search as much. It's just as important. Both places are great, but I do know that the audience and the suggested traffic tends to be a little more valuable.
Yeah, really. I lean the same way, with search. Very valuable tool. I think sometimes overemphasized in that people will they'll skip forward to the part they need, like get it, learn from it, use it, tell everyone they found it on their own, never mention you, never subscribe, never come back to your channel again. Now that's not on all cases, obviously, but it's something that we're aware of. I want to come back to that and get into this conversation right after I welcome Dee Nimmin to the page, and also video creator collab Supreme Gecko. Guys, ask your questions. And if you have a question for Brian, for Robert, for Trina, just put their name in the question and we'll get to it in just a second. Rob, let's jump over to you because, you're really sort of the guy that everybody knows. Everybody knows Rob Balasabas. In fact, Rob Balasabas was hanging out with the Pope, and there's these two guys and they look and he goes, "Hey, who's that over there?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know who the one guy is, but that's Rob Balasabas." Right? So, it's everybody knows Rob. And I think that networking and live streaming is a big part of, thank you, Trucking Tip. That's a huge compliment. I think that networking and live streaming is a big part of what you do. Talk to me about the importance of building a network in order to grow your brand on and off YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think collaboration is one of the key things that's really helped grow the companies that I've worked at, Tubebuddy and also Thinkific in my previous life. And a lot of collaborations really took place. And one of the easiest ways to do that is through live videos, So, I'm just watching your face, Owen, reading the comments here. But yeah, so collaborations and building those relationships, everyone on here on this panel, like our audience loves seeing you guys on the Tubebuddy channel, right? Whenever you guys show up on panels or live streams, like our numbers are really, really good. I see Daniel and Dee here. They have a regular running show on our channel. Yeah. And again, collaboration and, the Daniel and Dee show. And, everyone loves that on our community. So why not just let's do that. Let's share the stage and, have the knowledge that you guys all have, that me, Andrew, the rest of the team, we don't know everything. And so let's bring people in that can serve our audience as well by sharing their knowledge. And then everybody wins. There's added value there. And then also in return, all of these collaborations, they open a lot of doors, like for my career, like doing collaborations and live streams. And sharing that stage has opened a lot of doors. There's lots of opportunities to be invited back to other people's show, speak on their summits, speak on their conferences, and do other projects beyond that. So yeah, definitely collaborations and also that community building that happens afterwards is key, for growing your audience. Sure.
Now we're live streaming right now. We're live streaming on multiple platforms. We're on 2 different YouTube channels, a few Facebook groups. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. And all in all, we've had up to 94, 97 people on the show. How important is live streaming to a video marketing YouTube strategy?
Yeah, so I think it depends on how you're using it. There's lots of channels that will do live streams as a way to do community building, relationship building with your audience. There's a lot to be said about building a relationship with your audience versus just having subscribers, right? So, subscribers are numbers. They're consumers for the most part. But when you build that relationship and they're part of your community, I know Brian, Trina, you guys all have communities. And so a community member, is loyal. They're active. They're advocates for your channel, for your content. They're sharing your content everywhere. And so live streaming is one of the best ways to do that because there's that real-time engagement. It also helps you understand the content and the pain points that your audience has, right? It's kind of like a real-time focus group. So, when you share an idea, there's other questions that pop up that then you can take and you're like, hey, I didn't know that was what you were curious about. And then I didn't know that was your pain point. So now you can take that and put that into your content strategy, whether it's on YouTube or a course or a membership or, a digital product that you're building.
Now, live streaming has become phenomenally easier today, right? I say all the time, like anybody can jump on their phone. On YouTube, you get immediate access. As soon as you set up an account, you can live stream with your desktop. Anybody can go live on a desktop. And then after 1,000 subs, you can go live on your mobile. But I think what happens, and I get this a lot in my client groups, is they say, I want to build a channel entirely off of live streaming. And I know some of them are actually in the audience right now, and we've sort of coached them through this. What is your advice on building a channel off live stream, like 100% live stream, versus having a mix of pre-record and live stream?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it comes down to the format because the majority of the views will come from the replay. So it depends on the format of your live stream. If your live stream is just built strictly for the live audience and the replay viewer feels kind of alienated or kind of like not involved in that content, then it probably won't do very well. And so you'll need a mix of recorded, uploaded, and also live stream content. But if you have, I take a lot of notes from you, Owen. If you have a proper run of show for your live stream, then yeah, you could probably, you have a good chance of having a really successful live content only channel if you're building it with the replay viewer in mind.
If you guys want to get my ROS for free, ROS stands for run of show. You can go to owenvideo.com/ROS. Yeah. We have a live stream ROS. We also have a YouTube ROS. And what that is basically like a start to finish format. It's an idea. It's a template. It's designed to get you moving and off the ground, because I think a lot of people are like, well, what should I say first? And then what should I say second, and then third and fourth and fifth? That's what the run of show actually looks like. Can we put Josephine's question on the board here? Guys, please try to crack me up in the comment section. I am going nuts here reading your comments, and it's hilarious. Like the best part of my day so far. But Josephine is asking, willst du mit mir Schlittschuh laufen gehen, Owen video? She's saying, will you with my something go laugh? I think that's what she's. I believe it's German. I thought it was Dutch, but I believe it's German. I don't know what that means, but I think it's hilarious.
That's hot.
I'm being even asked that. Yeah. Turns out it's like profanity, and the video gets banned and pulled from 7 countries. That's
not good.
I know, right? That's kind of what's going to happen. Well, I want to go to your questions now, because we have a wo kommst du mit auf, Josephine? I dated a German girl for 4 years, so I know a little. I've been to Germany twice. Skiing. She said, do you want to go skiing with me? I was close, though. Do you with me want to go do something? So, I'd love to kind of open up the panel a little bit and sort of ask some questions. Carlos, if you could maybe rearrange the screens a little bit, let's go and let's ask let's ask some of the questions that have already sort of come in. I'm going to go back to the beginning with Gadget Gecko, who's one of our tried and true, joins us every week. He says, I've got one video getting a ton of views. What's the best way to get those viewers to view the rest of my videos? I want to start with Brian, and then I'm just going to open it up to Trina or Rob if anybody wants to jump in. So, Brian, what's the best way for you to answer that question?
I'm going to pivot a bit. I think once your video is published, the very best thing you can do is try to figure out how to duplicate that kind of success. Because the fact of the matter is, like, there's a rabbit out of a hat, and then there's something that's kind of impossible. And at that point, I think the question you're asking is kind of impossible. I mean, sure, we could put a card at the 4-minute point if it's a 6-minute video, and there's little things. But at the end of the day, one of the things I've said for a really long time, in fact, Owen, you responded to this, and that is success will be found in your next video. And when you really look to your YouTube channel as my job is not to try to figure out what the algorithm wants. I mean, that's not true. That's the first part. But then really it's all about figuring out how to achieve the metrics you want and thinking about what are the things that will get people to the end of the video. Because that's what you really want. You want people to the end of the video so they click the end screen element, so they subscribe and so on. And to try to figure out, it's kind of like a mystery trick or tip, something that's missing. There must be something that I'm missing because I'm not getting the views. But instead, when you just say, hey, you know what? I kind of know what I need to do. I need to do it better. And then you look at the most important things, I think you're going to be far better served. When you know, here's the official answer now, okay? When you know, when you start filming the video, that your goal is to get people to the end of the video, and then you know how you're going to hand the viewer off to the next video. When you know that before you film, which I know every single time. In fact, people have said, it's like I have to click. Like it doesn't even sound like the end of the video, and I clicked. And that's because I know not to say the words like, hey, thanks for watching. Right. Or, hey, I hope you enjoyed that. That's a signal that the video is over. And again, this goes back to success will be found in your next video. And when you're always striving to improve, you will. I guarantee. And at some point, you'll see, holy smokes, literally my views have increased by 3 times in the last 3, 4, 5 months. So that would be my answer to that question right there.
You know, you got a lot of great feedback in there, including some comments on your book called Tube Ritual, which I own. And chapter 4 of Tube Ritual, which is Brian's book, is called Win the Click.
Where'd that come from?
That is something that I inspired Brian to write about, Win the Click. And something that I teach my client group all the time is what Brian is talking about. The next video is where your biggest success comes from. Great stuff. Trina, I saw you nodding your head a bit on the end card thing. Jump in, share your thoughts on that same question.
Well, I think that also goes back to your process, to knowing your workflow. I always know what the goal of my video is going to be before I even shoot it. So part of my kind of checklist as I'm getting ready to plan my content is knowing what is the goal of this video before I even start mapping it out. So that way I can incorporate that call to action at the end, whether it's in my script or my bullet points, to ensure this is what I need people to do, this is what I'm focusing on, and this is what they know they will need to do at the end of the video.
Yeah, really good. Rob, anything to add?
Yeah, one of the things I know Andrew on our channel, who runs the Tubebuddy channel, does is have a specific call to action at the end. You know, it's like if we have a video on A/B testing, for example, it's like, hey, if you want to learn more about A/B testing, or if you want to get more clicks on your thumbnails, check out the playlist here, or this, this specific video. So like a really specific, next step. Very good.
That is so powerful. If I can add one little quick tip, Owen. One of the things I like to do is think about, maybe I've got 5 tips. Tip number 5 is really, it's kind of like me just adding a 5th step.
Yeah.
And then I kind of open, it's like a hook at the end of the video to queue up, and that information is in the next video. You should click the screen right now. Super powerful. Right.
Tip number 5 always is make sure that you have an XYZ setup in your house. And I'm going to go into detail in that in the next video. So go ahead and watch that now, and I'll see you there. That's kind of what you're talking about? Parlay into the next video?
Yeah. Like I always say, the thing to think about, and this is what always works, is when you begin with what the viewer wants or what they're afraid of or the pain point, and you identify that, and then you just crush it at the end. And you're like, now, the easiest way to get views is to leverage the power of the CTR or a thumbnail. And then literally, as you're filming, that as soon as I say that line, the next line, the end screen element is going to pop up on the screen.
Yeah.
And it might even, if when you're really good, you actually look at the video and the thumbnail, and you look at the words on the thumbnail.
Yes.
So you say those words as you're recording the end of your video, and then they see the words on the thumbnail. They hear the words that you just spoke. Anyway, I don't want to hog the panel up.
Oh, wow. Good. That is what I'm talking about here. I think that is really just, no, it's good. No, it's good. Really. Oh my God.
What just happened?
Tragic by the moment.
Okay, thank you. Judge Judy is keeping us on track just in case we get a little off track here. It's getting gnarly. It's getting wild and crazy all around here. So we got another question coming in from Let's Talk Stroke, Jerry Wald, who's a stroke survivor, currently creating a show that is growing in success for stroke survivors. He says, what is the longest I should stream for? I'm already getting great engagement. Rob Balasabas, let's open with you.
Yeah, it's a really good question. What is the longest I should stream for? I get great engagement. I mean, as long as you're getting good engagement, just keep on going. You know, it depends on your strategy. I know that there's some streamers out there that they kind of, they find their peak and then they sort of cut it off there. And then that's when they would, place a call to action to, hey, go to my community or, some other place. Rather than waiting for the stream to die off and then cutting it off, right? So kind of leave and retire when you're at top. But if you're getting great engagement, depends on the format as well. If it's Q&A, then just keep on going and answering questions.
Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld, for those of you guys that remember, in the 90s, had the top, he revolutionized television. When the show was on for 10 years, and they were #1 when he canceled the show.
Yeah.
And the whole idea was that he wanted to leave as #1, as opposed to waiting for the show to kind of fade out. And then they quietly, into the darkness, my sweet prince kind of thing,
Yeah.
That's very sad.
What's that?
That's very sad.
It is.
When it fades away and just kind of there's 17 people left.
Totally.
And you had 400.
Yeah. That's like my career. But that's a whole different thing. Let's apply that question to YouTube videos, though. I'd love to hear from Brian and Trina on this. How long should a YouTube video be?
Yes.
I mean, I always like to say as long as it needs to be to provide value on that title that you created. If you're pitching a value in that title, you've got to perform on it. You've got to give them that value if you want to continue them to watch the whole way through, get that audience retention. Like Brian was talking about, the click-through rate, the audience retention, and the end screen click-through. I refer to that to my community all the time as the YouTube trifecta. And so just making sure that video is long enough to give the people what they came for.
It's good.
Brian, your thoughts?
I think the thing that I started doing more as I really kind of understood audience, algorithm, the basic core fundamentals was my goal is always I'm making a great video. I'm not worried about getting suggested. That is not a good question. Please do me a favor. It's not good for me. Yeah. I get really amped up. I get upset. How do I get suggested? Stop. That thinking probably hurts your chances of getting suggested.
Yeah.
And the same thing with how long should my video be? What I think about, but we'll kind of get to that as I unravel this. What I like to do is begin with what is the core, what is the hook or something really unique about this video that I'm creating. And then I get into it. And then I start working on the title and the thumbnail as I'm creating a few bullet points. And I really very, very, very rarely, almost never, will just create a video and I don't know what the thumbnail is going to look like.
Right.
I won't understand what the title is going to be. And then as I start kind of creating a few bullet points, I'll start thinking, am I going longer or am I going shorter? Because the fact of the matter is you can absolutely crush it on a 5-minute, in my niche, and a 5-minute video with a high CTR, especially if you get those subscribes or if you get the end screen clicks. So maybe it's a real just kind of fast hitting video, tip, some nice transition, some good editing. The pace is very high.
Yeah.
Or I get into something that's a little bit more story driven, kind of documentary style. I kind of like pull out and bring the audience on this journey with me. And it's really about triggering emotion. Then I might go longer, but like I really won't know that until I begin with what is the core value. That's really what I wanted to start with, Owen, right? What is the core value?
Yeah, that's good.
So I think those are the things to think about. And I wouldn't worry too much about how long the video is. Just always keep them watching longer.
That's good. I would say 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, next question. So, and I tell you, because I'm the type of guy, I agree with everything Brian and Trina said. It is this delicate art of how long should your YouTube video be. And I think there's a lot of creators that kind of come to the platform like ready. Thank you, Daniel Batal, by the way, for Daniel Batal just bought my kid's lunch. And the thing is, like for like someone like me, I kind of like have to have a border because I'll just go.
Yeah.
I will go and go and go. Like, in fact, last week I made a video called How to Get More Views with This Unknown Strategy. And I ended up doing like 3 or 4 different strategies. And it was like, man, I need to kind of really set up my parameters there. So I try to start with 5 to 7 minutes and then sort of just like feel it out from there. But for those of you that like need an answer before moving forward, why don't you start there? Before you make a 30-minute video, maybe see if you can get someone to watch half of a 5-minute video.
Owen, what you just said, that's the right answer right there. I'm so glad you said that, because really before I started trying to do these documentary style, like trigger emotion, oh, I'm a filmmaker, woo! Like I just tried to like get the information across. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, so I think first you just focus on a simple 5-minute video, especially like a lot of people here are entrepreneurs. I want to lead, I want to sell.
Right.
Like 5 to 7 minutes in and out, boom, bang, blop.
Bloppy.
Bloppy.
Brian loves to end his sentences verbally with like this quiet dot. And I'm like, are you done? You keep me guessing. Larry is saying, Larry's got a question who says, we have branded our live streams. Do we need to change the title for every live stream? Great question. Great question coming in too from Rich Graham. I just saw. Keep them coming in, guys. I'd love to. We just lost Trina. She's having a connection issue. Do we need to change our titles for every live stream? Rob, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, titles as in the lower thirds there, Larry. I don't know if it's the title of the video or the title of like the lower thirds title. If it's a video, yes, obviously, yes, for sure. Change the title, make sure it's searchable. If it's on YouTube, your live streams, if you're scheduling it ahead of time, it can show up in search as well. So make sure you are optimizing for, title, description, tags. If it's the lower thirds, absolutely. Owen was doing this right before the show. He was setting up all the titles and the lower thirds. Again, they're very engaging. These are little things that you don't actually think about when you're starting to live stream, but they help, because they're nonverbal cues for the audience to start engaging and comments and things like that. Those are all good signals for YouTube and Facebook lives and LinkedIn lives that this is a good piece of content that they should be sharing with other people. So yes, definitely set up, all your titles individually for each show.
Now, I noticed that our good friend Nick Nimmin titles his live streams relatively the same. And if Dee is here, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the chat if you're still around. I noticed that he uses basically the same thumbnail for every live stream, and he uses basically the same title. It's a very generic, like how to grow on YouTube kind of.
Bam.
And then we'll come right back to Pam's question. I want to hear though from everybody on the panel here today. What are your thoughts on Nick's strategy, but not Nick personally? Like, is that what we should do? Should all the live streams kind of be like duplicatable and all that kind of stuff? So Brian, what are your thoughts?
I think you got to start with the value of the piece of content that you're creating. Say it with me, people. Value. Now, if I focus on the value and then I trigger the click, I think about what is going to entice the viewer that they have to click on my piece of content. I think when you do that, you're really setting yourself up. And that's what Nick does. I'm like, oh, I know where he's going. Absolutely. He always creates a video title that's based on the number one want of his audience, which is getting more views, growing on YouTube, or getting a subscriber. I think this is such an important question, great question, because when we think about branding, it's really all about us. Branding is, it ain't where it at, if you ask me. And that's proper English. I think really instead, you think about what is the core value of this piece of content, and then you create a title around that. And if you want to do the branding thing, why is that funny, Owen?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Josephine is cracking me up.
Oh, notes and Duchess. No,
Yes. And
okay,
I'm like,
yeah.
Daniel Vital is throwing money at me. I feel like I should have a poll right here. You know,
I'm out of here, man. I do not want to see what comes next once you get on the poll.
Because what you're saying is so good, and I'm over here like,
no, it wasn't. You on the stripper poll is good.
it's all of the above. Rob Balasabas, what are your thoughts? Like using the same, like the asset works. Do we use it over and over again? Like, why do it work? What do you think?
Yeah, you know, I think when we were talking about Nick here, right? Nick and Dee and Daniel, like these guys, you know, they have massive audiences, and they're another thing that doesn't you may not think about as well is that they're very consistent. And so, it's expected. Like, they have a regular audience similar to what we do on the Tubebuddy channel. If you're showing up consistently, there's a little bit less focus on the thumbnails. Like if you see Nick, he's going to go live on Saturdays with D. Awesome. Then I know he delivers value and in past sessions, he's delivered a ton of value and he's answered my question. He's been really engaged and, he doesn't hold back with the tips and advice. And so, they'll show up. People will show up, right? So it goes beyond that. There's value already. So exactly what, Brian was saying.
Good stuff, guys. We've got some great questions here, and I'm kind of going through all of them. I know Trina, we just got Trina back online, and I'm excited because she has so much to offer. We've got Lead with Jim, who is asking a great question, who says, how far in advance do you come up with the content for your live? Rob, what do you think?
That's a good question. So, so in the past with the Creators Corner show, for example, on the Tubebuddy channel, we would come up, maybe a couple weeks before. But now we're getting about 3-4 weeks ahead. We're just trying to be a little bit more, intentional with the topics and planning out, weeks ahead. So yeah, that's us. Sometimes we'll just jump on and do a live Q&A though. So it really depends.
Man, I would love. Trina has so much to say. I hope.
I know.
This is really her sweet spot. Brian, what about you? Content planning, like what's kind of the goal? Like how many videos per week, per month? How do you think about it? And how far in advance do you have the content? Yeah,
so it's funny when you asked me, I'm kind of like, where's my iPad? Because in the iPad is the Notes app, and inside of the Notes app is 3 folders. One is published videos, the other is unpublished videos and title ideas. I think what Rob said was really great, and I think you really have to be not cautious, aware of how you work. If you're a solo creator, if you're doing most of the stuff yourself, what I would say is don't get too hung up on this idea of master planning because it's kind of stupid. Yeah. The reason it's stupid is you're going to change your mind 3 or 6 months later. There's just no way you're going to be creating the content that you think you're going to create in 3 or 6 months down the line. So what I do, Owen, is I've got a bunch of different topics, ideas, videos that I'm working on, or live streams, right? And I'm just like, what am I passionate about right now? And Owen, I know you get me on that, right?
Yeah. In fact, what we do is we have a planning day on Monday. So before this show, Carlos and I meet on and we do our content planning, and we kind of talk about what are you excited about today? Right? What's kind of the thing? Because last week we had content. It's I'm just not feeling that today. And that satisfies, I think, the artist in me while also, achieving the business objective of having a channel that grows our membership community. So I think that's really important that you make time to plan, but be willing to, the day you're in front of that camera, be willing to scrap it and go with, what are you feeling right now? Because that's going to come off better on camera. Have you guys ever, quick answers here, have you guys ever done a video that you sort of forced out And then when you watched it, you're editing it, you're like, this is garbage. I just got to scrap this. Have you guys ever, I did that last week. Have you guys ever done that?
All the time.
Probably 10% of the time. And when I've done it, I've looked back. Short answer, he said. I've looked back. Let me pull a Roberto Blake. How many hours do we have? Oh, poor Roberto. I love the guy. He's the greatest.
Roberto. I love Roberto.
Yeah, I don't know what the question is anymore, but oh yes, I do. So basically, like when I created the video, I knew it could be better with just a few tweaks. And oftentimes I'll go back, I'll kind of reshoot or re-edit, and I've done really well. So yes.
Good. That's really good. You know, I struggle. Like I was working on this video that's just at the end of the day was just no good. And I tried to fix it with the editing. I don't think I was able to really do it. Want to thank Daniel Batal for the comedy show that's happening along with the stripper pole jokes. You know, we did a TikTok this week, and if you guys don't follow me on TikTok, it's a comedy channel. It is not educational. It is straight up comedy. And we did 500,000 views yesterday on one video, and it was about a stripper pole. So
I'm gonna install one downstairs. I've been trying to figure out my set. It's gonna be a stripper pole.
You got the lights for it, my friend. Add a stroke.
I'm not happy.
Trina, we want to kind of come back to this question about like planning. Maybe give us a quick answer, and we'll move to the next question, which I think also matters a lot. But like, how far in advance do you plan?
I used to plan like 2 to 3 months at a time. Now I'm about 3 weeks because I like to look at my analytics and see what's doing well. But it's about 3 to 4 weeks. I usually have an idea for the month because I'm thinking about what am I launching or what is my marketing strategy coming up. I have a launch every quarter for something. So all my content has to lead into that because that's more important to me than necessarily growing a YouTube channel. That's how we've been able to double our business revenue for 4 years straight. So I do plan about 3 to 4 weeks in advance.
Really good. You know, you're so good at planning. Truth be told, we had a team meeting this morning, and I'm like, everyone needs to follow Trina. The way you're so consistent in what you promote on Instagram matches what you're doing in your email, which I read all of your emails, by the way. And I'm seriously like a fanboy of Trina Little. Like, you're so good at this.
And that's how we do it, really. We take the YouTube video, plan the YouTube video, and then everything that week revolves around that video, whether it's the Instagram post or the Instagram stories or the IG live or the email newsletter are pillar pieces that YouTube video, and that affects all the content for all the platforms for the whole week.
Yeah, and you're so good at it, guys, and that's why Trina Little, along with so many others on this panel and in the audience, are worth following. We had a question from Pam that came in about Super Chat. Do we still have that question? Because if not, we can go to the question from, I think, Graham had a question about, let me just give Carlos a second, and I'll ask Graham's question. Thumbnails first or titles first was the question that he asked. Thumbnails first or titles first? I'd love to hear from each of you on this, starting with Brian G. Johnson.
It's organic. Like, I think the thing to think about is there is so much value in a really compelling thumbnail. There's so much value in an amazing video title. So the thing to think about is like, what am I doing in terms of the next video? And you might come up with like, this has happened to me where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a great concept for a thumbnail. Yeah. And I've gone ahead and created that thumbnail. And I knew as I built out the video, the core value and the reason people were going to click was that thumbnail paired with the title, or it might be the title. But what I think the important part, Owen, is to think of a few elements to make it work really well. And number one is a keyword phrase. 90% of my video titles will have a keyword phrase. And then the other element is a compelling element that's going to cause people to click, that will entice people to click. So for example, if I release a video and it says how to get more views on YouTube, I will be far less likely to get views than if it was how to get views on YouTube in 60 seconds or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, which I've done that video 3 times and it's always done really, really well because of that enticing element or compelling element. Yeah. So there's no real, this is the way thumbnail first. It's more about I got to get great at thumbnails and titles. And right now, that's one of the skills I want to work on is thumbnails. So,
you know, we call it a clickability factor, and it's one of the 4 main factors in winning the click on a thumbnail, right? You got to have a hero shot, you got to have a brand, you got to have a background, you got to have a clickability factor. I really love that. Trina, Rob, what are your thoughts? Wait, before Daniel Batal is just throwing money at us today, as is Dee, as are a few others of you. And we just want to say thank you. It's not only lining my pockets with gold doubloons, but it's cracking me up. You guys are cracking me up today. I think I just got another one for WD-40 for my stripper pole. So going down, this is going down in history as probably one of the most fun live streams I've ever done. And we're running low on time. We just lost Trina. But that's that's all. Trina, come back if we can have you back. We got a few more minutes left.
Come back, Trina. Come back
on that. Thumbnails first or titles first?
For us, titles first. It's hard, right? I mean, you're thinking both at the same time, honestly. So, like what Brian said. Yeah, we're thinking both at the same time. Whenever we're talking about planning our content, each week with the content team at Tubebuddy, we're thinking, okay, well, what's the thumbnail going to look like, and what's the title? What's the value? So we think about what the pain points are. What are the common questions that are coming up that we can address and help with from our community? And then we think of titles at the same time. We kind of spitball ideas for thumbnails. So
really,
yeah, it's not really one or the other for us.
Really good.
And
yeah.
I'm sorry, Owen. I think we worry about what is the right thing to do, and everybody's system is different. So we have to figure out what works best for us. Like sometimes maybe it's best to think of that thumbnail. Sometimes it's best to think of that title. Sometimes you got this amazing content and then you have to backtrack. And so there's no right answer. It's what's going to work for you.
Yeah. There's sort of an I'll tell you, sometimes I'll have a concept for a video. I want to do a video about this, and the thumbnail will look like this, where it's actually like an imagery first. And there's other times, like we're working on a series right now on growing a channel with a mobile device, right? And for that, I haven't even thought of the thumbnails, but I do have some pretty solid topics in mind. And the ROS teaches this, by the way. And if you guys want the ROS and the trainings that come with it, get it for free, owenvideo.com/ROS. And we talk about brainstorming titles, brainstorming thumbnails, then sketching out the video, what you want to cover, what the value is, like Brian talked about, and then going back to the thumbnail and asking, does this thumbnail still work for the video I just wrote? Right? The video sort of unpacks, and you might see some different things. Now, we had a question from Purple Bee about email, about an email list. And that is so key for me. I built an email list very early on in my YouTube career, and that sort of was pivotal for me. So Purple BTV is saying, can you talk more about the email list? How often do you send it out? What's in those emails? Trina, let's go to you on this one, and then we'll jump to another question.
Yeah, I send mine every week, primarily to build my know, like, and trust with my audience. We know that YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn is all borrowed platforms.
Yeah.
We don't own that. So by having that email newsletter, it's just a place to get in contact with your people whenever you need to. And I know a lot of people think email might be dead yet, but the statistics show that email is still very, very much alive. And so every single week, we do just kind of giving them value and pointing them to, hey, there's this new video that's going to give you a lot of information and building that know, like, and trust with them.
Really good. Really good.
Can I add something real quick to that, Owen? I think the thing to think about is why are you considering email?
Yeah.
What are you trying to accomplish? To start building out an email list without a product to sell, which could be your product, or you could be thinking affiliate marketing. I'm going to create a series of emails, and then you could promote Tubebuddy, for example. That's fantastic, but always begin with the end in mind and trying to understand what am I trying to accomplish. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Rob, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think what Trina mentioned earlier is that every quarter she has a launch. So I think it's good to go back to that, and like that is the base. If you're using YouTube as a bit, as part of your business, as part of your funnel to build your list and drive clients and things like that. Have a plan in mind. Don't just throw videos out there and do live streams for the sake of just having content. Have a goal. What do you want people to do for every step and every piece of content you're creating? Owen, you told your team to follow Trina. Like, if you go to Trina and you follow her on Instagram and then also on LinkedIn, it's all one big story, and it pushes to that one thing that she's doing for that quarter. So it's have a plan and then make sure that everything is talking to each other. The worst thing is that there's a lot of content creators out there that are just creating content just for the sake of creating content and doing live streams because they just want to create live streams. So, and nothing really speaks to each other. They don't all really work together. It's kind of confusing for their audience. So if you tell your audience, okay, well, this is the thing that I'm doing this month. I want to help you with this one thing. This is what you're teaching inside your membership or your courses. This is the launch that you're pushing out. And then use every channel properly for that thing. So yeah, that's...
Yes. Platform, people, purpose, right? You can have the same piece of content, right? It's a video about how to fix a bathroom sink. Yeah. But you put it on YouTube the way YouTubers want to see it. YouTube viewers want to see it. You put it on Instagram the way Instagram viewers want to see it. You put it on Facebook the way Facebook viewers. That's the platform rule of platform, people, purpose. And we can get into that in the next live stream. Guys, how do we follow you and stay in touch with you? Brian, Trina, Rob, tell me, how do we stay in touch with you guys?
I am on YouTube. Search for my name. You can click over to my website, briangjohnson.tv. Got a pretty powerful 40-minute YouTube masterclass that you're going to want to check out.
Nice.
You dig?
Get it done. Feed a poodle when you're there. Trina, talk to us. How do we stay in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube as well, Tips with Trina. And then I hang out every day on Instagram, Trina_little. And that's where you can kind of see behind the scenes and also how we ramp up for a launch or create the content or just everything that we do to balance it all. I talk about in my stories.
Awesome. Really good. And I really enjoy it. Rob, how do we stay in touch with you?
Yeah. Thanks, Owen. Anywhere, Tubebuddy, at Tubebuddy. Obviously, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, but also copy and paste my name. I got a long last name, so you can just copy and paste my name on YouTube or LinkedIn, Instagram. You'll find me there as well.
Got it. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to be with you. And don't forget to go get Restream.io at owenvideo.com/Restream. Try your free trial of this software today. Invite guests, make custom backgrounds, show the chat on screen. There's so much you can do with Restream. You're never going to need another live stream software. So I hope you'll go check it out at owenvideo.com/Restream. And if you already got it, email me, ping me on Facebook. We have a free gift. We have some free graphics packs that we want to give to you so that you can step up the look of your own streams. Had a great time today. Love the stripper jokes. I love you guys. Thanks for being here. I'm Owen Video, and we'll see you next week on Stream Like You Mean It.